Welcome back. Now, the arrival of a new baby into the family home is one of the most exciting times in a family's lifetime. But not everyone at home will necessarily welcome the little bundle of joy straight away. That's namely toddlers.
Now, parenting coach Val Mullaly is here with advice on how to handle a potentially green-eyed tot when they are no longer the littlest member of the household. Good morning to you, Val.
Good morning,
You're very
Val.
welcome. So, is this universally common that when a second one arrives, there is jealousy and issues?
What do you think? Yeah, it makes sense. Some children, it's more challenging than others. But, yeah, it makes sense. There's a whole new arrival. You know, one of the images I think that can be helpful for parents to consider is, you know, imagine going home and saying to your significant other, oh, you know, I love you so much. Look, I've gone and got another one just like you. Now I've got two of you.
Yeah.
You know, how would...
Well, when that first child particularly has been the centre of your world for whatever amount of years, and everything centres around that child. When someone else comes back in, they go, yeah, and not, they're not just bringing it back for a night. This child is staying.
Yeah.
Your toddler can affect them seriously, can't it?
And this is why I think it's so helpful when parents can take time to stop and think, hang on, what's going on for my child?
Yeah.
What is my child needing? So, you know, often a parent can sort of think, oh, you know, my child's behaving badly or they're acting out, I've got to stop this behaviour. You know, if we could think about how do I understand my child's behaviour? What's my child's behaviour trying to tell me?
Yeah.
And, you know, so instead of thinking about nip the behaviour in the bud, you know, how do I support my child?
So the key, Val, that you would say is, and in terms of tips, is that, number one, we should plan ahead of time. So, in other words, don't deal with it as it's happening. You know, when we know baby number 2 or 3 is arriving, plan ahead. And when you say plan ahead of time, how do you mean plan ahead?
Well, I think we think of the practical things about planning ahead in the light of, you know, having, you know, toys for the toddler to play with and so on, which matters. You know, I think it can be handy to have a little goodie bag of things that come out at feeding time or whatever that are new toys to the child so that he has some interesting things. But I think what is really exciting is in the last 20 years, we've discovered more through neuroscience about how the young child's brain develops and how the young child's thinking, and they don't think like mini adults.
Yeah.
That if we can read and explore and find out more, we can understand what young children need to thrive. And that's, I think, it's really great if parents can take time to think about it before baby arrives, because, well, we all know if you've been there and done that, you know, lack of sleep, you're not going to have time to do the focused reading later on. So I really invite parents to think about what's needed to support the young one.
You say also in your list of tips that parenting isn't meant to be a solo or a duo job. What do you mean by that?
So, if you consider through history, you know, right from the very earliest times of parenting, right through to now in this day and age, it would be as though just my little fingertip at the end would be this modern era where you have just mother and father looking after baby. In all the eons of history, it's been a community thing. We've had a whole community supporting the baby. So part of that planning ahead is planning, who is my support team?
Yeah.
Who is on board, and discussing with them what might be helpful, what's needed, and so on.
And in terms of your toddler then, and depending on what age the toddler is, like getting them involved is huge, isn't it?
It is,
helping, like we always found that with our kids, that helping them go and get the baby's nappy and you come over and help change him or help you with the baby's bottle. Get them involved.
So try and make it fun and, and inclusive.
And a community.
Inclusive, you know. So part of it is thinking of things like, well, how... When, you know, other people will come up and sort of coochie-coo over the baby, and a gorgeous baby and so on. And, you know, so often then the little one, the toddler or preschooler can be feeling, oh, what about me? I used to be your gorgeous one up to a couple of weeks ago.
And as you say, don't give the new baby all the attention.
And if you can say, and I have two lovely children,
Two
just,
beautiful
you know,
babies,
and bring attention to the other one as well.
I remember an old tip that I used to hear, and then we put it into practice ourselves, was to give the toddler a present from the baby.
It's one of the helpful things that I think it can work well. Can I give you one that I noticed you slipped in and suggest something that can be helpful to do differently? I'm going to invite people to think about, don't talk about having a new baby. Talk about having a baby. And I learned this from a 4-year-old. And this little girl said to her mummy, she said, "Mummy, what's going to happen to me when you get the new baby?" And you think about it. You get a new car or a new sofa.
Exactly. You get rid of the
what
old one.
happens to your old one?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so instinctively they think, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm being replaced.
Exactly.
Very good.
So just
Very good.
avoid
Very
the new
important.
and just have a baby.
Okay.
Another thing that we did, sorry, Aidan, was we brought our boys in to meet the baby in the hospital. Is that a good thing, or do you wait till we come home, or what?
I think what is important, and you'll know your own situation and when and what is most helpful. But one thing I would invite you to think about is, that little one has been separated from the mother for a little while.
Yes,
and is dying to see mum and isn't going to understand. And you've said there's a baby coming, but the reality of it is
here
a
it
different
is.
thing. So when the child is going to be reunited with the mother, I think it's really helpful not to have baby in mother's arms.
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah.
That toddler needs
that's
to
in
be
my
able...
way.
Yeah.
That's between me and mummy.
If you think about it, you never get a second chance at a first impression. What's the first impression that toddler or preschooler is going to have with the baby, So rather have the baby aside and have your arms open and welcoming and ready to receive the toddler with just you and me right now in these few moments.
It's really interesting stuff, and I think for new parents, or if they're having a baby, it's to plan ahead, because once new baby arrives, or baby as we want to call it,
baby,
does it slip off
you're
our
just
tongue
so busy, and,
Yeah.
and you've got double the work now, so it's to plan in advance.
Yeah, and actually they say it's more than double the work with the second one, because you're trying
it is. And I
you
can relate
can relate to that.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Val, thank you very much. I could talk to you for hours, and I might ask you a question or two off air as well.
Now, Val's book on the subject, Baby and Toddler on Board, Mindful Parenting When a New Baby Joins the Family, is available at all good book retailers now.
Thanks for coming in, Val. Good to see you.
Thank you, Val.